You can apply it online, and then subsequently, I believe there are 2 rounds of interviews where you explain your ideas and why you want to be a founder. And then after that, you'll be able to join the program if selected. There's a saying, when you do a PhD, you're putting a dent in the universe. It's the same as doing a startup. So you're trying to do something where you put a dent in the universe.
Do you think it's sustainable? Do you think it's kind of a fad? Probably half of the startup I talk to are doing something in AI.
I don't think this is a bubble or anything like that. I think it's more of a trend.
Hey guys, it's Tim. You're here listening to Next Big Wave. Today I have a really cool co-founder, Yibin, the founder of EigenAI, and Yibin is based in Singapore. Yibin, great to have you on the show. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's a pleasure. We're gonna get to know you. I personally don't know you that much, but I'm super excited to learn more about your background, about your story as a founder, and about the direction you're headed in Southeast Asia. So you're obviously based in Singapore at the moment. Is that where you're from originally?
Yes, that's right. So I'm born and bred in Singapore. I spent my school years in Singapore. During my undergrad days, I had the opportunity to go to Australia to do a short exchange. During my postgrad days, I had the opportunity to go to the US in Pittsburgh to study for my PhD. After that, I came back to Singapore to serve my bond with the company that sponsored me for the scholarship, A-Star. And after that, I worked a few years, and then I had the opportunity to go to the US in San Francisco to work for Uber. I was there for 2 years. After that, I came back again to Singapore for work, and just recently, around six months ago, I started my startup, EigenAI. Yeah.
Congrats on that. So it's your entrance in the founder slash your own startup world, right? This is your first one.
This is my first one. That's right.
But you definitely had been exposed to startups in the past, rather big ones as well. So you've been exposed to different places around the world. You worked at Uber in San Francisco. What prompted you to come back to Southeast Asia, and namely in Singapore?
Right. Uh, my family has always wanted to come back to Singapore. It's for personal reasons. It's because our family is here, our friends are here. We want to raise our kids here. So that's why when it was time, we decided to move back to Singapore. But of course, again, we feel that there are a lot of opportunities in Asia, especially Singapore. And again, we see now and then there's the funding opportunities for startups. The government is very receptive to encouraging startups in the region. There's a lot of talk now about AI, and we felt that, well, it's a good time. It's a good time to move back and, well, try to launch a startup in this area.
Okay. I mean, fair enough. Yes, definitely. Singapore is making waves these days with one of the fastest growing AI scenes in the world, taking over by velocity metrics the US at the moment. So I can see the appeal for someone like you with your background. So you're a data engineer, scientist, PhD. So that's really the route you've been going. How did you transition from being an employee to wanting to become an entrepreneur?
Right. So, so maybe I share a bit more about my early days. I have
Of
a
course.
PhD about 10 years plus back. After that, I worked in research. So I found that a lot of research it is hard to translate to real life applications. Well, most of them are pretty academic. So I was very interested in trying to apply what I learned in school to real life applications. I want to build a product, namely. So in order to build a product, I had to join the industry. So that's when I joined Singtel, my first company outside of academia, where I helped them to build products. And that's where I had a taste of the startup world. I joined this startup called Data Spark, and it was very interesting to see the drive and the innovation and the everyday drive of the people within the startup world, where they're trying to, really make an impact with their product and do things that nobody else has done before. So that really motivated me. And the seeds were planted, to actually launch a startup of my own, probably in the future. After that, I had the opportunity to move to Uber, where again it was a startup kind of culture where there was a lot of learning opportunities and a lot of innovation. And then eventually, I came back to Singapore and I realized, it's now or never, especially after the pandemic. Things change, could change overnight. So I'm no longer young. So I really, if there's something that I want to do, I should just go for it. And so 2023 was the year where I decided to take the plunge and actually launch a startup.
Very cool, very cool. So you decided to take a plunge. It's a difficult plunge, right? Some people call it the most difficult job in the world. Other than the seeds that you sort of got planted with at these different startups, was there more of an appeal of being your own boss, or there was just no project that challenged you enough in these corporations? Like, was there something beyond just what you just described?
Yeah, definitely the projects that I've been given were very challenging. But the thing I realized after working across all these industries is, I spent 17 years of my working life across various industries, and I realized there are two things that are in common across all these different industries, be it telco or ride-hailing or fintech. Firstly, all of them are very concerned with customer stickiness. So they
Mm-hmm.
want their customers to stick with them for as long as possible and not churn over to the competitor. Secondly, they have a treasure trove of transactional data from which data scientists can extract and mine and extract very valuable customer insights from these data sets. So I noticed these two things across various industries. And rather than building my solutions for a particular industry, say ride hailing or fintech, why not, we launch a product. It can be used across multiple industries. And then you don't have to be a data scientist to use it. You could be a marketing analyst with a business or finance background, and then they really need some help in building all these AI models. That's
Mm-hmm.
where our tool can come in and really make their work more efficient. So that was the thinking that we had behind starting EigenAI.
Okay. So
Yeah.
you've had this idea for quite a while. Has it been brewing in the background while you were working at all these different companies? Is that what happened?
Yes, definitely. Right. So
Okay.
yeah, yeah. So maybe I just share a bit more about EigenAI.
I'd love to hear more from your, firsthand.
Sure. So why Eigen? Eigen is a German word for characteristic. So we aim to help our client companies understand the characteristics of each and every one of their customers. Um, Essentially, for Eigen AI, we are a one-stop AI ML platform that that helps businesses to retain their customers. So we use cutting-edge AI solutions to build customer lifecycle management models. Examples of such models could be churn prediction, propensity to buy, customer lifetime value, and upsell, cross-sell models, and so on.
Okay, fair enough. And I was looking at your website. So you mentioned specifically Shopify. Is that kind of like your starting ground? You're starting with e-commerce owners as a place to start, and then you're going to scale it to some other industries? Because you mentioned you want to be sort of industry agnostic, but it seemed from the website that you were focusing on e-commerce, though.
Right. We chose the e-commerce industry as our beachfront, beachhead strategy. Uh, Really, we felt that the e-commerce was the right place to start. Firstly, they have a trove of transactional data which they have to collect. For their accounting purposes, they need to keep proper records and so on. So they already have already this data sets available for us. So we decided to go for the e-commerce companies as a start, and also explaining churn to them was quite a natural. It was easy for them to catch hold of what we are trying to do. So that's why we went for e-commerce companies as a start. Yeah.
And you guys are working with more enterprise level Shopify or e-commerce companies, or it's a self-serve solution so kind of anyone can access it?
The aim is to be self-serve, definitely. If there's someone out there that wants to try our AI models, he can freely log into our website, sign up for a free trial, and he can try and build all these AI models to predict when the customers will churn.
So you just plug in your Shopify and you pull everything via API, or you have to do some sort of import export type of thing?
So now basically we are building a Shopify plugin, which will be launched very soon
Okay.
at the end of this month. So once there, for Shopify shop owners, they can simply install our app and then from there on, they will be able to get the list of their customers that are most likely to churn. So this will be
Okay,
ranked in terms of most likely to least likely to churn. And then from there, they can run some campaigns or give them some incentives to
sure.
incentivize these customers to stick to their platform.
Yeah, a couple questions there. Uh, like I'm super familiar with Shopify being from Canada, like having spent 12 years in Toronto. Shopify is big for me. I know a lot of people who work with it. Is Shopify big in Southeast Asia, or are you not even focusing on the Southeast Asian market? You're just global at this point.
Right. So for Southeast Asia, my co-founder Uni, in fact, has a lot of contacts in the e-commerce space in Southeast Asia. He has a background uh, pretty much in the e-commerce industry for many years. And,
Hmm.
we talked to most of the contacts. Uh, a lot of them started e-commerce companies using Shopify, even in Southeast Asia. So
Okay.
actually, it is very popular.
Okay. Fair
And
enough.
yeah, when we talk to others about ideas, we got a few feedback that, why not you try building this Shopify plugin. So we felt that it was worthwhile thing to start with. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. So one thing I want to talk to you about, because you're in AI, is basically these days probably half of the startup I talk to are doing something in AI, and I don't always know whether they have like a real goal and something concrete around AI, or if it's just they've added a layer of AI because that's what investors want and because it hypes them up a bit. What are your thoughts on like the current state of AI in the startup ecosystem, and do you think it's sustainable? Do you think it's kind of a fad? Like, can you describe your thoughts?
Yeah. So, this AI has been around for quite some time, but again, it is on an uptrend in the recent 1 year or so. I've always heard the saying that AI is the new electricity, and I really believe in it. I believe it can be applied in any industry, and then it will be able to make the industries more efficient. And so I know, there are many startups that are now claiming to do AI just to catch on the trend. Over time, I'm sure, as with every trend, sometimes some startups may not work out so well, but definitely, time will tell. Yeah, I don't think this is a bubble or anything like that. I think it's more of a trend that the AI is riding on now.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it seems like, there's the startup portion of AI, then there's AI fueling the stock market increase in North America. Everyone's saying that the recession is being countered by the rise of AI and how that's really the savior of the stock market. So it's kind of like on everyone's mouth these days. But yeah, kind of interested to get your thoughts on that. Is that what your PhD was about as well? You didn't mention what you did for your
Yeah,
research.
my PhD was mostly in physics simulations using signal processing. It is not. It is. I would say it is using the same foundations of AI in the area of statistics and programming. So from there, I built foundations in these areas where I find it easy to transition over to data science and AI and machine learning, and that's what I've been doing for the last 10 years.
Okay, so you're in it like you're a real one. Did you guys raise money, by the way? I couldn't find any information on that. Are you
Oh, right, right.
self-funded? Or?
Yeah, we were funded by Antler since since 6 months back.
Okay,
Yeah, we
so
got a
I've heard.
pre-seed round from them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Beautiful. And the Antler in Singapore, right?
That's right.
Okay, and so I've spoken to many founders now that have gone through Antler. It's like they've managed to get so many startups from across Southeast Asia. So congrats to them. I'm curious, did you meet your co-founder at Antler? Is that how you guys met?
Yes, yes, yes. So I met my co-founder Uni over
Okay.
at Antler. Yeah,
Okay, so yeah, that I think that's the main reason people go to Antler is when they don't necessarily have a co-founder.
right.
They go, they get introduced, but you already had the idea. So you came with an idea and then you met a co-founder there that was going to be able to help you scale it, right?
That's right. That's right. So I'm more of the data science, technical kind of person. So I felt that I needed a business person to be more involved in the sales and marketing side. So that's where I joined the program with this objective. And it was fortunate that, I met my co-founder Uni through that program.
Okay, and what was Uni's background? Were they already a founder before, or were they also same, just trying to do their first startup?
Yeah, for him, his skills complements what I lack actually. So firstly, I'm a first-time founder. Uni is a two-time founder. He has one successful exit. He has an MBA, so that's where his I feel the business skills will be very handy for our startup. And also, he has worked for many years in the e-commerce space with contacts in Hipvan and Lazada, and also in telco space. So that's where, we felt that there was this synergy. When I explained my idea to him, he could catch it immediately, and
Mm-hmm.
he could see that it was lacking in the previous industries that he has worked in. So he felt that, if he had known this before, definitely it would help to sharpen their marketing and their campaigns. Definitely, if he had known this before. Yeah.
Okay, very cool. And so, back when I was starting out and I was also in business, I was always looking for technical co-founders. Going to these meetups and incubators and things like that was a kind of a frenzy, because there was like 10 business person for one technical founder. So we were all fighting to get this technical co-founder. Is it still the same? Was it kind of like that at Antler when you went there, or is it pretty even now?
Right. When I was at Antler, it was more even, I would say. Maybe it's around 60 to 40, the ratio, or maybe even a bit more even than that. So we can see that there was a lot of discussions, a lot of synergy, a lot of pairing ups. So it was a very good environment, actually.
So, can you describe it? Because I don't think I've had anyone on the podcast specifically talking about Antler, but like, could you describe the process? Was it like a program that's all in person? The first week they put you all, like, you're doing speed dating. Like, how does it work exactly? I'm curious to hear more.
Oh, sure, sure. Yeah, it's a 10-week program. Within the first few weeks, you are asked to go through a few boot camps. Boot camps means that in the first few, you are pre-assigned a team. The teams could be around 4 to 5 members, and you are given a topic or a list of topics to choose from. And within 2 or 3 days, you are asked to work on this topic. And then at the end of the 3 days, you will have your slides ready and do a pitch. And some of the pitches were, to me, it looks really good. What people can come out in 2 to 3 days. And the mentors there will be giving you feedback on your slides, whether the market is sustainable, whether the market is large enough, whether this idea will work from their experience and so on. So there's around four to five boot camps in the whole 10-week program, and at any point you are allowed to check out, meaning that okay, I found this co-founder that I would like to work with, so we will check out, and then we'll actually work on the topic of our own choice. Again, we choose the topic and we come up with the slides. We do market validation. We go and talk to our contacts, and we try to get some initial traction by
Mhm.
getting some LOIs and building some prototypes. So that was the overall journey. And then at the end of the program, you get to pitch to the investment committee. From there, they will decide whether they want to fund this team or not.
Okay. And then the percentage of companies getting funded, I mean, I don't know if they have an approximation or.
Right. I think in our cohort, uh, there were quite a large number of teams that got funded. I don't remember the exact number, but again, it varies cohort by cohort.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And is there an application process to get into the Antler program to begin with? Like, you had to go jump through hoops, or it's free for all?
Or you can apply it online, and then subsequently, I believe there are 2 rounds of interviews where you explain your ideas and why you want to be a founder.
Okay.
And then after that, you'll be able to join the program if selected.
Okay. So the experience was positive for you.
It was positive. Yeah, I met my co-founder, so I'm
Good.
very happy.
Okay. Very nice. That's good. And so, according to LinkedIn, you guys have been in business for about 6 months. Is that accurate?
That's right. That's
Okay.
right.
And so the past 6 months, you've been building like a prototype, I assume, starting to get clients. Are you already, you've launched a product that is functional, or it's still like in sort of in alpha?
Right. We are planning to launch our Shopify plugin very soon, at the
Mm-hmm.
end of this month. In the meantime, we are working on pilot projects with customers and really understanding their pain points and what are their needs. So we have this. Uh, so basically, from my data science experience, we talk to these customers and we try to come up with solutions from them for them.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so this is our strategy as a start. And once our Shopify plugin launches, we will do more marketing on the plugin. And after that, after the plugin, we plan to launch our B2B SaaS app. Yeah.
Okay, very cool. And so, how are you finding being a founder so far? Is it everything you were expecting or not?
Yeah, I think in my previous jobs, I was a data scientist, so I just focused on the data science part. So being a founder is much more than that. You have to look out for funding, you have to talk to investors, you have to see what kind of government grants are there,
Mm.
what are the available credits that you can use to minimize your costs. So there are financial aspects, and then there are also networking and connections that you have to leverage on. So definitely, I've leveraged a lot of my past connections. I've talked to my bosses, my mentors, and my friends to sound them out and ask them for, what are your thoughts on my idea. And yeah, all these were very helpful, which is much more than just doing technical data science. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's you have to be a bit more versatile when you're a founder than just grinding on one thing and being extremely good at it. So you mentioned just now mentors, and I'm really interested about the topic of mentors. How did you meet these mentors? How have they helped you? I'd love to learn more about that.
Sure, sure. Yeah. Mostly those are my ex-bosses. So we kept in contact, and then when there's an opportunity, we meet for lunches, and then since I'm doing my startup, I try to sound them out and see that get what their thoughts on this idea. Yeah.
Okay. And you feel like it's been helping you quite a bit on your trajectory overall as a founder. You couldn't have done it without, or
Definitely, definitely. For example, for mentors in Antler, they help you to connect with some of the industry contacts that they have, which was very helpful for us. And then from there, we get to usually they connect you to one person, that one person will help you to connect to even more person. So there's a whole uh, connections. There's a lot of connections that you can talk to, definitely. Yeah.
okay, good stuff. And have you heard of masterminds? Is that a concept that you're familiar with? Groups of similar like-minded people, let's say founders that join a group, whether it's in person or virtually, and help each other out. So like I think the masterminds that I've sort of been in count like introduced to, there's everyone poses the problem they're working on that week, and everyone else gives their opinion on how to fix it. Is that a concept you're familiar with?
Masterminds. No, no, I'm not really familiar with that one. Yeah.
Okay, no worries. I'll skip that question then because okay. So, you've had quite a few jobs before becoming a founder. Is there one job that you hated, the worst job you've ever had? And really the reason I ask that question is because I'm trying to find if there was a trigger like enough is enough. I don't want to be employed anymore. I want to build my own thing, or all your jobs have been amazing and you just naturally became a founder.
Yeah, yeah, I think maybe I share something from my very early days. In 2003 in Singapore there was a SARS period. That time I was an undergrad undergrad studying in NUS, Singapore.
Hmm.
I took a summer job where I had to call people every day to ask them for their temperature and log it down in a spreadsheet. So that time, if you have a high fever, it means that you have likely to come down with SARS, and then it may spread to other people and so on.
Hmm.
So it was internship job. It was a summer job. The pay wasn't too bad. I mean, The pay wasn't too bad for a summer job, but it was boring as hell. You have to call people, ask for the temperature.
Mm-hmm.
This is not. It's quite monotonous for me. So I
Mm-hmm.
realized that it wasn't something that I like to do on a day-to-day basis. Similar things. I like to learn things. I like to apply what I've learned, and I like to build things. So that was one thing that I have learned from that experience. And I make sure that after that, when I took on various careers, I had the opportunity to learn things from the job or from the bosses or from my peers. After learning them, I try to apply them, and I like to build things and see the outputs of their work. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So then you started with the boring job and realized, okay, like my jobs need to bring me value because I have an end goal. So were you, when you were young, etc., were you already thinking about entrepreneurship, or that was a complete foreign concept to you?
Yeah, I would say that during my undergrad days, it was very far from my mind. At that time in Singapore, entrepreneurship wasn't a big thing. So so those were very early days in Singapore.
Mm-hmm.
I guess what really sparked this interest was when I joined the industry after I graduated from my PhD, and then
Right.
I realized that there's a lot of very motivated people with ideas that they want to implement and really try to impact the world.
Yep.
So, there's a saying, when you do a PhD, you're putting a dent in the universe. It's the same as doing a startup. So you're trying to do something where you put a dent in the universe. So I think it's a very fulfilling and a very meaningful type of a goal to aim towards. So that's
Good.
why I guess I moved into a startup. Yeah.
I love it. And obviously, there are some risks involved with building a startup. I mean, you've had this beautiful career. I'm sure you've had a very nice, stable income over the last, career. And now you decide to take the leap and get rid of your salary and start something that may or may not succeed. What was the thought process there? Because you mentioned that you're not young anymore. I can't tell. You have like Asian genes are looking good on you, so you
Thank you.
still look very young to me. So I know that the longer you wait in your life and your career, the harder it is to make the plunge because you have
Right.
this comfortable lifestyle. So how was that transition for you, and how did you have to convince your wife, for example? Like how did things work out?
Yeah, definitely I had to convince my wife. But one thing is, I think I had this notion since quite a while back. So I've been sharing with her that, one day I want to start my own business,
Mm.
and then I shared this very early with her of once in the initial days when we just got to know each other, it was something that I already shared. So I think she was well prepared for it. And of course, we watch our expenses and all this and make sure we do our financial planning well. I mean, we don't live in fancy, we didn't buy any fancy big houses. I don't even own a car. I usually use free stuff, like my watch is free this is from the government's program. So we watch our expenses and we think we can manage. So we did some planning on this end before I took the plunge. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and you're in Singapore, which is not a cheap place to live, so you really have to be careful there.
If you're local, you know the tricks. You don't eat
Okay.
it, you don't have to eat in restaurants. You can eat the local hawker centers. There's really good food here. So we take the public transport every day. We are used to it. Yeah.
I agree, like the food is incredible there. But have you figured out where to live? Because I thought like the biggest expense is really like your unit, your condo, or your residence, right? Is that still the case no matter where you are though?
Yeah, so we stay in the public housing, the HDB flats, and then we have not moved since we got married and moved in here. We have paid off, the housing loans. So in this case, I have no debt at the moment. So
Okay.
we have planned this. Yeah.
So big planner. That's pretty cool. I mean, I think that's a good trait to have as a founder. Even though you're the tech part, it seems like the finances are handled by you, not your co-founder. Is that right?
It's co-managed. Co-managed. Yeah.
Co-manage. Okay. And speaking of finances, you raised Antler. Are you looking to raise a next round soon, or what's your plan?
Right, right. Yeah, we are talking to investors. We do plan to raise a next round very soon, within the next few months.
To start, or you're going to close it in the next few months?
We hope to close it within the next few months.
Oh, congrats.
Yeah,
I mean, that's pretty solid given there's a funding winter, they call it, or funding freeze, but it seems like you guys have cracked it. Speaking of, I was going to ask you about that because a lot of companies I speak with saying it's difficult to speak to, well, it's not difficult to speak to VCs, but it's difficult to convince VCs at the moment to invest in anything. I think AI might be the exception. So that's why you guys are doing okay. Did you find any, like, I know it's your first time doing it, perhaps, but have you found it difficult to raise money in Singapore? Are they mostly local investors that you're talking to? Are there North American investors involved? If you can share with that.
right, right. We talked to a mix of both. There's both local and foreign investors, and of course, they are focused on Southeast Asia. We found that quite a lot of these funds they have a heavy focus on Southeast Asia, and they want to support Southeast Asia founders. That is what they shared with us. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Well, I hope the fundraising goes well for you guys, and I'll probably read it in the news at some
yeah.
point soon.
It's not written in stone yet, so
Yeah.
we are still talking, and we are always open to talking to more investors.
So that's going to be a shout out, I guess, at the end of the podcast. You'll want to talk to investors, and I hear you, and I'm happy to make some intros as well. Maybe we can talk offline after this to see if there are a few that you haven't spoken to yet.
Sure, sure.
So I kind of like to talk to founders about what they would like to ask other founders if they could meet them. And it kind of retraces the question about masterminds that I asked you. The reason I ask you is I'm doing my own market research about building masterminds in Southeast Asia for other founders. So if you could have access to any founder right now, what kind of questions would you like to get answers to related to building your business?
Right, right. So I need to think of this one. I guess when we talk to founders, other founders, I think mostly we want to know whether we are on the right trajectory regarding our product. What does it look like, when you see a product market fit? We'll appreciate this kind of help in this kind of area. Whether there's any particular founder that I would like to speak to, I mean, of course, if I can speak to Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos, you know, all these great founders, it
So
will be
what,
very.
let's say, you asked about validating your ideas, validating your product market fit. I think those are cool. But if you were face to face with Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk, what would you ask them? Like if you had one shot.
Yeah, I think I will ask them how do they stay, how do they not get distracted, and how do they, what makes them so confident that they are on the right path? So yeah, I've asked similar questions to other founders as well. Um, how do you keep yourself motivated? Because in the startup life, there's always ups and downs. You don't keep going up every day. It's more of a roller coaster ride. So when you are down, how do you stay motivated? How do you keep yourself going? Um, and I've heard answers, ranging from you need a network of founders, and from this network, you know, you can share advice and keep yourself motivated and ensure that you guys are on the right track. Uh, so yeah, I think those are all great advice. Yeah.
Good. I'm writing down because I think those are great. I think you keeping yourself accountable with a partner, at least one body, is really cool, and having this network effect added onto it, I think, is a very powerful statement. Are you already struggling with these ups and downs, or because it's still early, you really kind of just head down and haven't really thought about it?
Well, we we are going up and down right now, so definitely there are good days and there are bad days. I guess it's part of the startup life.
What sort of defines a good day? Is it related to, let's say, you're not able to achieve certain goals, or there's like personal conflicts within founders, and you don't have to go into detail if you don't want to, but curious what generates these ups and downs.
Right, right. I think uh, there were certain industries or certain companies that we think that will be have a very good fit for our product, but after talking to them, we found that they were actually interested in something else, not the first product that we were talking about. So based on the feedback, we have to iterate and redesign the product for them to suit their particular use case. So those were a bit of unexpected uh, kind of stuff that we didn't expect right from the start. Uh,
Hmm.
and then good days is of course when we talk to companies and wow, they like it. They really like our product, and then they can share that data with us immediately, and then after that we are able to generate results and share with them the results, and then we get good feedback. So when I say good days and bad days, I guess I meant along these lines. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, I completely get you. Look, you basically, when you're a founder, your emotions are tied to your business. So whatever goes up or down in the business, you're tied to that. And even I think you're right, asking people who are at the top how they've managed to maybe detach themselves or decorrelate themselves one to one to their business's emotions is really powerful. And I'd love to have those answers too. I think it's a superpower for sure. Cool. So before I let you go, I usually ask a question from the previous guest, and then I'll ask you to ask a question to the next guest, so it kind of creates a chain. So I'll give you a few seconds to think about it, but I'll ask you the question from the previous guest: is are you optimistic about the next 10 years?
The next 10 years, definitely. So I think for all startup founders, they are optimistic by nature. I'm sure that's a broad question, but in terms of science development, we can talk about AI. I'm sure you go by leaps and bounds. The next 10 years will be very different from the last 10 years for sure. So I'm very optimistic. I'm very excited to see what the next 10 years will bring, for science and development.
Amazing. Have you had a chance to think about the question you'd like to ask the next person?
Um, yeah. So I think for founders again, I will be interested to know, what keeps them motivated. So what keeps them going even when they are downs during the startup life, and then I think a lot of founders they say resiliency is the key to building
Mm-hmm.
a startup. So in terms of resiliency, how do you build more resiliency, uh, and then what are the kind of experiences they had that builds this resiliency in them? I think that'll be interesting to hear. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. I think that's a good question. And then shameless plug at the end. Is there anything you want to pitch or plug? It's up to you now.
Oh, sure, sure, yeah. So, for EigenAI, we are launching our product in the form of a Shopify plugin very soon. So do watch out for it. Once it's launched, we'll make an announcement on our LinkedIn page. So if you haven't already, please follow our LinkedIn page. Uh, Feel free to ping me, and I'll share you the link. And then, of course, also we are looking for investors. If there's any, if you're interested, feel free to talk to us. We can go run through our fundraising slides with you, and then we are happy to get your feedback. Uh, and then happy just to have coffee and have a chat.
Beautiful. And I'm just going to say that EigenAI is spelled EigenAI.co. That's it. That was Yibin from EigenAI. Thank you so much for joining. And that's the pod.
Thank you. Thanks, team. Thanks for having me.